Hey up everybody, and welcome to the Outdo Velogames podcast. We haven't done one of these since Paris, which is a bit criminal, but yeah, we're back for Liège at least. You know, it's the last round of the transfer game. It's the last category one for a while, isn't it? In the Super Classico, I think the next one is, I think it's the Olympics. I might be mistaken in that, but whatever. It doesn't really matter. We're talking about Liege Bastogne Liege today, obviously, and I'm joined by Dan and Irfan. Dan being, well, I don't know. Dan, are you centre back or goalkeeper? I can't remember which way around we said.
Yeah, I've had a couple of months out, but yeah, I'm back to stalwart at the back, conducting things.
Yeah, and I don't know. We're all, I think we're all kind of licking our wounds a bit. We're needing a good Liège Bastogne Liège to really rise up the Super Classico rankings. So share my screen onto the women's team. Obviously, that's the smart thing to do. What we're actually going to be looking at is, there's my team for anybody interested. I floated an idea of that we were going to say teams at the start. We're not doing that. Anyway, the main thing is Pogacar, right? For me, Pogacar is just a must-have. And what do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, it's outside of Worlds. It might be the one race where it's just like, you know, pick him.
Yeah.
Do yourself a favour. I mean, there's not, I will get to them later, but it's not even like there's a whole load of 20s that you could get by not taking him that are attractive. So.
Yeah, true. Irfan?
And it's a monument.
Pogacar is the monument, and when we see the team that he has around him, that's it. Take him. There's nothing, no reason, nothing. Yeah. Nothing. I've got nothing against.
It's literally like, you know how we were all a couple of rounds ago. You know, it's just you're in Flanders, Roubaix, and you pick Van der Poel because you just kind of have to. It's exactly the same thing. I don't care. Poggy's, hasn't raced since Catalonia, blah blah blah. At the end of the day, he is the favourite for this race, so just put him on, because when he solos off and you don't have him on your team, you're going to be really upset with yourself. And like Dan said, I don't really think that there's you don't need to swap him out and trying to be really clever, putting in 220s or something to try and compensate, because I just don't think it's going to work. But arguably the more interesting point is Van der Poel, because I think not a lot of people will pick Van der Poel for this race. I think he's too risky for me, just because, I know he's done this race before and he came 6th or whatever it was, but that was the COVID era, so does it really count? It's just this. I
think it was a different parkour, wasn't it? It was the closed circuit.
Yeah, it was. So
it all kicked off on Rochefort-Falcon.
Yeah,
and he came 6th. So, but again, 4 years ago. We barely even knew who he was back then.
That's true. For me, people will throw an Amstel Gold and World Champs and stuff at you and say, Van der Poel does really well in those. I just think that Liège Bastogne Liège is a different race. It's harder. The climbs are a little bit longer and they're steeper. And I just don't see Van der Poel. I don't see him following Pogacar all the way up the climb. He might follow him for half of it, up La Redoute or whatever, or Rochefort-Falcon. But I don't see Van der Poel hanging on. And I think for 32 credits, it's far too risky.
The thing with him is, I think the highest place, this will sound really stupid and obvious, but the highest place he can finish is first, because he can definitely win if he's in insane shape. But equally, the lowest he can finish is he'll just get off because everyone's gone, and it's like, well, what's the point in finishing 30th or whatever? I don't think that will happen. I still think he'll win. He'll be like the Matthews of the day and win the brunch sprint for 8th or 10th or something.
God.
But I just don't see any scenario outside of Pogacar crashing out where he's worth 32 credits for this race. And also because all the climbing is at the end, it's over 4,000 altitude meters, and you look at the profile and it's obviously not flat at the start, of course not, but all the serious climbs are at the end.
Yeah, I agree. Fan, are you picking Vanderpool?
I'm just going to be annoying and say yes. I'm going to have to pick him.
Oh,
Just let's see the reason why. Just to annoy you guys. It's Vanderpool. It's the monument that he hasn't won yet. Why is he going to bother to come here? And we really have to take into account the superiority that we have seen of him so far. We haven't seen his limit yet. Like basically, when he wanted to win, he won. And the only time like Amstel Go Race or Philipsen or Milan San Remo is when he had someone up the road. So
Well, I think
I haven't seen his limit, so I'm just going to pick him.
The monument I'd compare it to, I think there's more altitude meters in Lombardia, but Lombardia is the other one he can't win, literally can't win. And I feel that's right. I've seen a few posts that show the difficulty of the race and how well he does. And this is right on the edge of what he's capable of, potentially over the edge. So he'd have to be basically, I feel like we talk about the third week of Grand Tour in terms of form quite a lot. And I feel like Van der Poel would have to be sort of peak lightweight power to win this, and then even get to that front group in Lombardia. So I'm not saying it's impossible at all. Like he might do one of those insane rides for the ages. But yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah. It wouldn't surprise me. If Van der Poel won this, it wouldn't surprise me if RCS fully changed the route of Lombardia and make it into like a
give him a Phil Gilbert.
Yeah.
Give him a route that even Phil Gilbert could win.
Yeah, literally. Okay, so Fan's going with Van der Poel, but has more of a disrupting the norm rather than out of sensibility. Anyway, I think Van der Poel. Okay, he is what he is.
It's still early in the season. Let's go for it.
Yeah. Why not? I did see if he doesn't do any stage races this year and he just does the one-day races on his calendar, he's gonna have 9 race days.
Oh wow, yeah. 9 race days, about 7 or 8 wins.
I think my only thing with Van der Poel is that when he's done well this year in the one-day races, he's always been like a 50k solo, hasn't it? Like Flanders, Roubaix, E3. Is Van der Poel going to go solo 50k's to go? Like he might do, but I just think that Liège is just more of a taxing race. But anyway, that's bye. Leave Van der Poel. You can do what you want. Hershey and Pidcock, obviously, actually, and Benoit. There we go. That is the podium of Amstel Gold Race right there, ladies and gentlemen. Here's the thing that I have about Amstel is that yes, Pidcock won, and I'm not taking that away from him, but a lot of the other favourites of the race were all staring Van der Poel into the abyss behind, right? Because Van der Poel's team just blew itself up too early and he was isolated, and they were all waiting for him to do something, which meant that I'm like the top 10's a little bit weird, where I'm not sure how much waiting to give Amstel Gold Race, because there was no scale.
Well, every team got their secondary favourite.
Yeah,
well, not secondary, but everyone in that group was not a favourite, an A player in their team except for Pidcock.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm not sure how much,
and maybe Hershey.
Yeah. So do you see what I mean? I'm like not sure how much to be like, oh, Pidcock's a favourite for this race because he won Amstel. I think he is. Yeah, he did. We have to remember last year, what was he? 3rd at Amstel, and then he finished 2nd at Liège. And he did a pretty just average La Flèche Wallonne in the middle of that. So I think that
Pidcock's just also really hard to judge because he often blows up over the distance. And he's told us before he's not very good at, or he often forgets to fuel properly. And Ben Healy dropped him at, was it Amstel last year? Because he hadn't eaten that last 20k or whatever it was. I mean, I still really like Pidcock. He's the Van der Poel light for me. It's like he wins if he's in that second group, he'll win the sprint for second.
Yeah, that's true.
So I've got him, but that's also a bit of British bias, and I just like him. So
yeah, that's true. I feel like whenever I don't pick him in like a non-monument race, it's like he always does well. It's like I didn't pick him for Squaddy, didn't pick him for Amstel Gold. I mean, to be fair, I picked him for Zulia. Got given Carlos Rodriguez. That actually ended up turning out pretty good.
Yeah, that worked out very well for us. Yeah.
Hershey for me. I think you should be going with Pidcock over Hershey because Hershey will be working for Pogacar. That is just what logic dictates. And I don't think this is going to be like a Van der Poel Philipsen at Paris-Roubaix where they're first and second. So for me, I'd say if you need, I'd be picking Pidcock just because he's the leader.
Have you done the maths on if Hershey finishes like 5th, having
God.
sat on, and then gets assist points and breakaway points? Because that could be worth it on its own.
Okay. If Hershey finishes 5th, he gets 360, and then he gets 90 for a hypothetical Pogacar win, and that gives him 450, which is transecting 3rd, 4th.
Okay, it's not a massive amount, but then plus breakaway point.
Yeah.
No, sorry, you won't be. You only get breakaway point for the front, don't you?
Yeah. So that's the big thing is that if Pogacar breaks away, like that's where a lot of the big points come in, is that you get those breakaway points as well. But I mean, if Hershey did finish 5th and got 90 points on there as well, it's pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, I don't hate it at all. I just think there's better options.
I just think it's too risky, isn't it? But anyway, beside that, what about Tiege Benoit? Top 10? Top 15s, just something like that, just pretty bang average, nice and safe.
I mean, yeah, I think all due respect to T, she's got a good palmarès, but it's like one of those. It's like in the old days, like picking Dumoulin for GT or something. It's like not going to win, not going to win a stage, really. Not anyway. That's breaking down with the Dumoulin analogy now, but he's just very mid for me. Top 10, yeah, but he's not going to win a sprint.
Yeah, it's like, is Tiege Benoit going to be in the winning team on the day? Probably not.
Also, because there's no one else. Is there even anyone else in that team? No, they're all working for him, aren't they?
Yeah, which does count for a bit. Like if you're a not big favorite, but you got the whole team around you, and also Benoit's quite predictable. It's like if he's in a second group, he will just launch an attack in the final K or 2K.
Yeah,
that might not be too bad because if they're fighting for second and they look around a little bit, which people are prone to do at the end of the monument, that's just a hypothetical how Benoit would do well. But if he's sprinting in that second group, it's not going to go well.
No.
So that's the problem. I just think that Benoit is it's a very safe pick. Got nothing against it, but I don't think it's going to be the best pick. I mean, Madouas. Given his results at the moment, he's going to finish 16th. Just nice standard. But I want to talk about Michael Matthews, who's got to be like the bane of Velogames, honestly. Because this guy somehow infiltrates every second group and always wins from that group.
Yeah.
It beggars belief. I don't know how he does it, but he does.
Well, he doesn't have that snap. He's not light enough or have the power to wait, to put it more scientifically. He doesn't have the power to wait to snap with those front guys. And he's always going to be the fastest guy in the group behind. So it's like basic Christoph maths. It's just like there's always going to be someone behind. Again, he's in that. I think he's more of. I feel like he's better. This might sound really stupid. He's better at climbing than Van der Poel, as in the longer duration, because he's got that pedigree out in the monuments. He just doesn't have that snap to follow Van der Poel or Pogacar, for example.
I don't know why. I just see Matthews finishing 7th. Don't know why.
Yeah.
That's just where
Matthews, Aaron Baru.
Yeah. I don't know why. I don't know why, but this is my hypothetical race scenarios that Pogacar gets away, then there's like a group of secondary favourites fighting it out for the podium, and then that third group is just brought home by Michael Matthews for 7th place. Because and also they've got Simon Yates here who might just try and tow things back together, and I don't know. It's just he's infuriating. It's like Flanders. If he didn't get relegated there, he would have finished third,
I think, yeah.
third, and it's just like he's one of those really under the radar picks.
Well, he's been under the radar for 10 years.
Yeah, he's just missed it under the radar. That's what Michael Matthews is. I think. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just trying to think about if I was to pick Benoit or Matthews. I think Benoit has a better chance of infiltrating a second group, but Matthews is more likely to execute, like finish front of his group, whichever one that is. If Matthews gets him out of second group, he could literally podium this race. He could do.
Yeah, it also depends what happens behind once Pogacar is gone, because if it's like Strada and there's no domestiques left, or they're either going to work together, or you then get your Scoinses and your Van Hills attacking from that group. So even though you've got that big second group, none of them want to work together, and then you get those like someone random who it doesn't even matter what their value is in this game. I almost feel like the credits don't matter in this game so much, because when Pogacar's there, or someone's going to launch off the front, some random is going to attack out of group 2 and not be chased, or like people can't be bothered anymore. And it could be anyone. It could be some like random 6 or something. Like the credits only really count for Pogacar, I think. I think the rest of it is just fill out the spots with who you want to pick.
Yeah. So let's move on to the 20s. Throw it back to Irfan. Irfan, we've got a wide range of 20 credit riders here. Do you like any of them, or any of these on a team of yours?
I have no idea why I had Flasov on my team. I'd Flash follow it.
Good puncher, to be fair.
But I think the big question mark for every one of us is how is Matthias Kelmos going after those images that we saw of him suffering from hypothermia. This was horrible to see. But so far, we've only got reassuring news. And even the guy said that he sees himself on the podium alongside Pogacar and Van der Poel.
He loves a big quote, does Matthias, doesn't he?
He does. He does.
If it didn't happen, if we didn't even see those images, we just heard that he didn't finish the race. I think everyone would agree that he was the best pick. We would believe him to be on the podium, but I think those images are playing in everyone's mind. So
yeah,
but I think he'll be fine too.
Yeah, I think going back to the Amstel thing is that Skelmos came off of a very good Basque Country, despite all of the horrid crashing that happened there. He then, alongside a lot of the other secondary favourites like Kuznefar and Van Hills, all looked at Van der Poel in Amstel Gold. And therefore his result there is pretty meh, but I don't think that's fully reflective of his abilities at the moment. Then he had very, very bad, like got really freezing cold in the Flèche Wallonne, DNF'd. And it's like, if you looked at those two results without knowing the context, you would say he's in bad form. But I don't think he is. It's just that 2 races haven't gone his way. And it's very
he said, didn't he, about I'm not sure he said he was annoyed exactly, but he was disappointed because he was waiting for Van der Poel to go, because he was like, come on, he was itching to go, and then he just either he never did or he just wasn't able to. So I have him on my team at the moment simply because I have 20 credits spare. And he is just, I look at that list and I think, well, Vlasov is just so inconsistent, and Bora have a decent team, and Skelmoser I feel is obviously the A rider for Trek, unless Scoins is doing it, which I haven't checked, because Baggioli is so inflated at 20, it's ridiculous.
It's all what was it, Grand Piemonte?
It's all basically that 20 credits for him in October. That's September, October.
He got all his from free.
Yeah, so I think Skelmoser out of those lot. Although Simon Yates is going to be the joker, I think, because he's probably the only one. It's Skelmoser, Vlasov, and Yates, I would say, are the only 3 out of that lot that can jump with Pogacar.
Yeah.
And I feel like Simon Yates is the only one who could follow a pure Pogacar snap.
Yeah. I just
but
see
the other
Yates.
two have a better sprint than him. So
Yeah, I just see Yates just being like, if he's not absolutely firing on all cylinders and he doesn't follow Pogacar, like he's on Matthew's bitch duty. Like
he
he's
doesn't.
towing
Yeah,
that group
he
back.
doesn't. What really annoyed me was with the Catalonia team selection, because the interviews came out kind of after deadline had passed, and he was saying, "Yeah, I'm just here to help Chris Harper." And it's like he doesn't. He's that kind of rider who just, if he's not on it and he knows he's not on it and there's no need to be on it, he'll just work for whoever. And I thought, to be fair, Chris Harper's did really well in Catalonia. So that's fine. It's fair enough.
Yeah.
But it's just like there's another rider I'm thinking of. I can't exactly remember off the top of my head who they should be like a game, and then they're just never. They're just like they could pull the pin. Maybe I'm thinking of Geraint Thomas. I don't know.
Yeah,
but it's just like someone who just like his quotes coming into Tour of the Alps is just like, oh yeah, I'm looking forward to some good hard racing, and it's just never there.
That's the whole team of Bahrain.
Yeah, Bahrain just.
We'll get to Bahrain. God, that's
Bahrain with 4 leaders or whatever. God.
Yeah.
Anyway, speaking of, here's one of them. 18 credit riders. Bilbao is there. Almeida, Carapaz, Kuznetsov, David Gaudu, Cernkraut, Anderson, who was a bit of a surprise at La Flèche Wallonne. I found it funny how I was really worried. How I said in my video for La Flèche Wallonne, I'm like, who's picking Cernkraut, Anderson over Kuznetsov? And I'm like, he's actually going to win this, and I'm going to look so stupid. Anyway, Andreas Klon, Dylan Teuns, Ulissi. There's quite a few to go at there. I would say Dylan Teuns and Kuznetsov are the best, but it's Teuns. It falls under the bracket of Skelmoser for me as well, where he was good in Black Ball Sipel, but then Amstel and La Flèche don't shine a particularly bright light on him.
Well, Flèche is similar to Skelmoser, isn't it? Because there's a whole load of favourites that just went out with being too cold because they hadn't got their clothes on properly.
Because what was it that you said, Dan, about Kuznetsov? He got to an interview and he was like,
"Oh yeah," well, he basically said, without swearing, he just said it was the coldest he'd ever been in his life, and he didn't know how he was not managed to stay up there, but he didn't know how he'd managed to do that. Which bodes, you see, Kuznetsov's record in this race is so, I'm not saying bad, because he's always, he has finished every single one of the 5 or 6 that he's done, but I think his highest result is like 18th or something.
Yeah.
So I just think it's too hard for him. I think it's too long for him. I don't think it's too, it's semantics, but I just think it's 250k maybe is a bit too long for him with the steep climbs.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think the climbs are just literally like 500 meters too long for him. I don't know what it is. It's like the repeated efforts for some reason. It's like he's really good at repeated efforts when it's 200k, but when you make it 250k,
I think Pogacar setting up the way UAE have is good. Could be either good or bad for him, because it's going to be bad for him because they're going to be absolutely smashing it to reduce, like they did. It's going to be a rinse and repeat of Strada into La Redoute, I think, in that get it down to sort of 20 riders and then Pogacar attacks. But that could also, Benoit will be dropped well before then, I think. But it could be good for him because it will then there will be a regroupement, to use the French, G2, and he'll probably end up in G2 somewhere and then finish 18th. He'll get dropped again at the end.
Yeah, literally. You make a very good point. I think a lot of these 18s are just a bit, apart from Teuns, I think you could make an argument for Dylan Teuns, but I think a lot of them just have a lot of question marks. I could see myself tuning into coverage with an hour to go and it's like, Kuznetsov's dropped. I'm just like, oh my word, no. Whereas I think that Dylan Teuns is just a bit safer. It's like in a finish, he's like Benoit. Is he going to be winning the sprint? No. Is he going to get away solo? No. But is he going to roll across like 5th in whatever group he's in? probably. So
I think
I
we're at
think
this
that's
weird
cool.
point in the season where you've got the GC guys building up into GT season, and then you've got the spring guys holding their form. So you've got this intersection, which is fascinating from a physiological point of view, where you can have a Dylan Turns and Andreas Kron winning or beating or whatever, Gaudu, Carapaz, these climbers, because they're not quite in their mountains form yet. So again, it's such a random pick. Like you'll look at the top 10 and it will just be an absolute, spread of these kind of guys. It's like one of those Giro top 10s where you've got like a puncher, a climber, a ruler, a sprinter, and then just a whole manner of different guys.
Is it mad of me to think that Ulissi could kind of do what we were saying Hershey was going to do?
It's not 2016, Patrick.
I mean, yeah, but Giro the Boots or whatever. Ulissi was like working on the climb and then worked his way back to Yates and Lutsenko, and I was like, this guy's got form.
Well, I didn't see that, to be fair.
It's risky. Yeah. Like he looked in good form in up those climbs. And he was actually probably stronger than Adam Yates and everybody else in the UAE team on that race. But it's so risky, I think, going or banking on a domestique to finish inside the top 10 and also get the assist points. It's far too gigabrain. It's you're trying to play 5D chess and you need to just be keeping it simple.
I just hope this isn't like, was it Flanders or Roubaix? It was Roubaix, wasn't it? Where the winning team was, or the best team was Van der Poel, and then 5 Alpecin domestiques who weren't even in like, I don't know what they weren't even in like the top 10 or top 20 or whatever. So I mean, you probably can't make a team with all UAE because they're the top guys. The mid domestiques are too expensive, but why not?
Give it a go.
It's that stupid game we play where we get an assist points team.
Yeah, literally. 16 credit riders. David Gaudu, no, that's the wrong Frenchman. Roman Bardet, Formolo, Tobias Holland Johannesson, Patrick Conrad, Michał Kwiatkowski, Lascano. What the? Lascano's here? All right, who's picking Lascano? Like, please don't.
He goes everywhere. He's a Spanish Swiss Army knife.
He is. Guillaume Martin, Bauke Mollema, Lorenzo Rota, Tom Schoins, Attila Volta, and the main 16 credit rider you need to be concerned about, which is Maxime Van Hills. Is that it? Is it just Van Hills? What do you reckon, Irfan? Is Van Hills the only 16 credit rider you need to be concerned about, or are any of these other ones worthwhile a mention?
I'm going to say the best pick, but how cool is it going to be? And we've seen him he was the last little track rider at the finish of the Flash Wallon, and Tom Squinch, maybe he's not that punchy, but he's a good alternative, a good second option, depending. Otherwise, if Skelmos is not feeling well, I quite think that Squinch will have some freedom, and he did really well this season so far, so he should be in the top 10 as well. Yeah. And then you will have your regular guys like Romain Bardet, and I don't know who else will be in the top 10, around 16 points. But yeah, if you can get Van Gils, it's fine. And I think you will give your coins and you will find some other guys at the 14 credits, so it's okay. And Van Gils is the shoe bet.
Yeah, true. Do you agree, Dan?
Yeah, I think Schoins, it's been mentioned before, but at the beginning of the cobbled races, and he was just up there because like he's just so good over long distance. Like he's one of those unique physiologies where he gets better the longer the race gets and the harder it gets. He seems to always be up there in worlds as well, despite never being in that top or maybe not even the second bracket of top riders. But yeah, to be honest, I like all of the Trek guys because they're all they're Bauke Mollema, Conrad, because they're not, unless they decide to, they know that Pogacar is going to do what Pogacar is going to do, so they're not going to be pacing. Like I don't think any of those guys are pace merchants. Like they're not going to be sitting there doing a train for Skelmos. So I think Skelmos is the clear leader because he can actually follow Pogacar probably, but I think they've easily got like 4 options to go and do whatever they want. Because Conrad did really well at the last race that at Amstel. I think he was top 10 at Amstel, wasn't he? He was in that sprint. I think Mollema was in that group. Oh, Mollema. Okay. Well, Conrad was. I've got Conrad in my brain for something. He seems to always go well in these. He's one of those like Scoins where he just seems to always be in these sprints at the end of long races.
Yeah, Conrad's come top 10 in this race. Before.
Yeah,
just inconspicuous 8th place.
But then, so I like it's odd though because it's that intersection because I like Conrad and I like Mollema and I like Scoins and I like Kwiatkowski because they're these type of riders. But then I look at like Formulo and Guillaume Martin and Bardet, and they just give me no inspiration whatsoever.
Say that. I mean, Guillaume Martin was up there in La Flèche Wallonne the other day.
Well, to be fair, he had a hill at the end to help him. So
that's true. But he finished top 10 in Liège last year.
Yeah. I mean, thing is, Guillaume Martin I'm going to guess it was the 2020 Tour de France because it was when Roglic was in the yellow jersey. I'm pretty sure he came second to Roglic in like an uphill sprint. So he is punchy.
Yeah.
I like Holland Johannesson as well, and I would have liked him more if he hadn't had that crash. I think he broke his collarbone about 2 months ago or a month ago. So he was just coming back to racing at Catalonia, I think. So he's kind of his peak will be after this. But it's cold and he's Norwegian, so that helps.
I was literally just going to say, if it's going to be a cold day, we saw how many UNO-X riders there were just amazingly over the top of this.
The nation of Norway was left. It was like that front group of like 10 and 5 of them were Norwegian or UNO-X riders.
I couldn't believe it. I was like,
I think that's what's influencing me with the little Trek guys as well, because Conrad's Austrian. I mean, fair enough. Mollema's Dutch, sort of ish. They're used to the cold ish. Classics guys, and then Scoins is Latvian. So pick guys from cold countries, even if they do live in Spain now.
Literally. I think you got quite a lot of options there in the 16s. I think that Van Hills is the safest, but if you want to go brave, go for any of the other ones we've just discussed. 14 credits. You do have some interesting ones. I mean, I'm not going to shout everybody out, but because there's some people like Hater, Mara Schmidt, but like who's picking these people anyway? Point is,
me. I'm picking Hater because
no. It's Romandy season. That's where he's got to know. Even Hater is going to blast Romandy. We all know this. It's his favorite race.
Yeah,
it's so true.
TT and low percent climbs.
Yeah, literally. Bernal, I mean, he'll probably work for Pidcock, but he's had some decent run of form this year, so it's worthwhile mentioning him nonetheless. Boitrago, like that, 14 credits, looked good at La Flèche Wallonne, clearly was okay with the cold, better than other people who DNF'd at least. So I think that Boitrago's good, and he finished on the podium of this race last year. Yeah. Very easy to forget.
I think he was the first ever Colombian to be on the podium of Liège, which is a feat.
That's good. And then Gregoire seems to be, he was the highest placed Groupama FDJ rider at La Flèche Wallonne. What was he, 7th? Something like that? 7th? I think he was just ahead of Bennett, something like that. So Gregoire's not bad, especially since he's fastish in a finish. So if he is in that second group or third group, he's going to be finishing towards the front of that group, whichever one he's in. I mean, Lutsenko won Giro d'Abruzzo, but he's never done well in this race. So Lutsenko's a proper rogue one. And that's about it. I mean, I'm personally going to fly. I think Boitrago is my favorite 14 credit rider, followed by Gregoire. What do you reckon, Dan?
Yeah, agree. Yeah. I mean, slightly below them, I'd have Bernal, simply because he goes well in the wet weather, cold weather as well, as we saw at the Giro. And he's been in great form this year, which is great to see because we've kind of been writing him off for so long because of his awful accident, that now that it's a year, 2 years on, he's actually coming back again. So I do like Bernal. I don't think he's a potential top 10 candidate, I think, maybe. But I mean, in terms of actually guys who have a fast finish, Boitrago and Gregoire, and I'm not really too sure. I don't think anyone else is really worth looking at, really. Maori's very similar in that he'll be very present. You'll see him. you won't be able to miss him. But yeah, he'll come like 15th or something.
Yeah,
And
you
the rest
got
are much of a muchness.
yeah, you got a lot of these guys who like Bernal, like maybe they'll be in a like Pidcock's in a second group, Bernal's in a third group, and he can just kind of sit on and he'll roll over in 12th, 13th, which it's fine. Yeah, absolutely nothing wrong with that. I think these are safe picks. It's their their floor, if you want to call it, is relatively like average.
They're all like potential top 20.
Yeah, like they're fine. There's probably better options, but yeah, but they're safe. They're fine. 12 credit riders. I mean, and I don't
Quinton
really like any
Hermans,
of them.
former podium stander 2 or 3 years ago, Quinton Hermans.
That's true. I just wonder how Alpecin are going to play this. Is Quentin Herman's going to get his own freedom?
Well, if Laurence is there, they'll do what they did at Flesh, where they've got their own little trident going on. I can't think. It'll be Soren. Is it Soren Crow doing it?
Yeah,
Yes.
he is doing it.
Yeah, so they got their trident there. I mean, of all of them, I'd prefer Laurence. I've forgotten how much he costs, but he's probably the fastest of any of them at the finish. And wasn't Laurence did really well at the Glasgow Worlds. So did he win, or he came second or third?
123.
He likes the punchy climbs and the distance.
I mean, we'll shout out one of Dan's favourite riders, which is Felix Gal.
The most useless of all time.
Well,
unless it's 20k uphill, the most useless guy in the world.
But he did well in the Tour de Doub and the Jura Classic, or whatever it's called, one which Martin has won.
Okay.
Does that not weigh in for you, Dan?
As soon as it goes downhill or there's a TT bike required.
Yeah.
I mean, what's so unique about Gal? I don't mean this personally to him at all. I'm sure he's a great guy, but as a rider, like got the Decathlon AG2R absolutely smashing it with Van Rysel, and I still think he'd find a way to not do well. Unless it's like the third week of the tour and he wins the highest mountain stage, which he always does.
Yeah, literally. But as a one-day race, I mean, he's had okay results as a one-day racer, but the only problem is that his sprint just ain't there. Like, it's just not working.
Yeah.
I mean, you got APP here, but I think they'll be going for Kuznavois. I know he did win the last stage of Tour of the Alps. Poles, very similarly. Like, Tour of the Alps, I don't know, like, Poles was just pretty meh, to be honest with you. Like, he didn't really massively impress me. So I'm probably not going to be recommending too many of the 12s there. I mean, the 10 credit riders, you could make an argument for, I don't know, Aliotti, maybe, if Vlasov isn't good and if Hindley isn't good, maybe they go for Aliotti. Maybe Battistella gets his own shot, but these are all very tenuous. Laurence, as Dan said, is pretty good. Pacher's actually been looking quite strong, but we all know the best 10 credit rider is Stephen Williams. Pretty bog standard. I think a lot of people will be picking him, and it makes sense.
Welsh Wizard.
The Welsh Wizard. I did like having Luke Rowe on commentary. That was actually pretty good.
I was listening for ages. I was like, who's this Welsh guy they've got on commentary?
Yeah.
I didn't even click it in my brain that it was Luke Rowe.
Yeah. Irfan, are you going to be picking Stephen Williams? At 10 credits, it seems fairly low risk, doesn't it?
I have Van der Poel in my team, so if I can afford him, I'll have him. But 10 credit, he's the best pick. That's absolutely nothing. If we can afford him, but if we get a cheap option with, I think later on we'll speak about him at 8 credit. There's another guy there who's smiling. Oh. So I think if you can afford, why choose when you can take both? So
yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. It makes Irfan makes a very good point. I consider Super Classico to be a bit like stock brokering in a very strange way, which is that imagine that your team is 100 credits, right? But it's actually valued at like 110. Because Stephen Williams, if you had like a sliding pricing scale, depending on how well they're doing, Stephen Williams right now would be worth 16 or 18 credits, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
Probably. Whereas he's not. Yeah. He's 10 credits. It's a bargain. So, whereas somebody like, I don't know, I'm trying to think of an example.
Alexia Puigdemont is actually worth 4.
Yes, like David Codu is actually worth 10 credits, you know.
Yeah.
Or
for this type of race, yeah.
That's kind of what I mean. So Williams is, you know, by the nature of Super Classico, he is a really good value for money rider. And you might think, oh, you know, it's going to be different. It's a longer race, blah, blah, blah. But a guy who wins La Flèche Wallonne like that, it's quite hard to look past him. So I've definitely got him on my team. What's annoying is that I had him on for Amstel when he did bad. I had him and the rider who we were just about to talk about, Kevin Votkola. I had both of those guys on for Amstel, took them both off for the Flèche Wallonne, and then they went and did what they did.
We're saying is you should probably take your own advice once in a while.
Yeah, basically, I should just pick the riders that I picked for the last race.
But one thing I'd like to point out is for Liege Bastogne Liege will have a completely different physiognomy of the race. It won't be like Flèche Wallonne where 70% of the riders were gone and the rest, they were just trying to survive on a bike waiting for the last climb. Here we'll have Pogacar setting things off a fast pace with his team. He'll probably go alone, and whatever will be left, many of them will have no teammate. So I think it'd be someone taking off for second place and the one chasing. So it will be a different physiognomy. It won't be a bunch coming for the win or even the podium. I think so.
What will kill me is if Israel end up having like the most, or Israel and Bora, let's say, and Trek have the most riders left in that G2, and then you've got like Scoynes and Conrad and all the guys and Williams, all the guys I've said, oh yeah, they're really great picks, all doing the donkey work to try and like, I've forgotten what the right word is, but just aimlessly chase Pogacar just for their guy to come second.
Yeah.
We've seen the race so far this season. No one is bothering like chasing Pogacar or Van der Poel.
True.
Yeah.
But I don't know what Van der Poel might have other thoughts though. He might still think because of the descent and after the last climb, he might still have a chance. So we'll see.
Yeah, absolutely. 8 credit riders. I mean, Adria, who came lovely 26 for me at La Flèche Wallonne. I mean, maybe he comes top 20, I don't know, but I just think they've got other leaders who they'll probably go with before him. I mean, Odd Christian Eiking did, I don't know, I think he was top 20 at La Flèche Wallonne, so maybe him and Johannesson make it further in. I mean, however much people hate him, Tiberi was on fire in Tour of the Alps, and I can't write him off. You know, people weren't picking because of the obviously he did shoot a cat in cold blood, and
there were 2 better riders than him on his own team. So
yeah, but at 8 credits, you might consider him. But I think the main one is obviously Votkola, who obviously, like I said, I had on for Amstel, then took him off because he came 43rd in Amstel, and then he won up. Oh no, he didn't win. He came second at the Murderhui, a climb which doesn't massively suit him, and everybody seemed to know this except for me and Dan, and I just couldn't figure it out. Well done, everyone. I hope you're happy. You know, classic come dine with me, like bitterness. It's like, I hope you're happy.
Should have made a meme for that. Oh, that'd be amazing.
Yeah, people might get that, people might not. But
that's a very niche British 2010 reference.
3 people are laughing in watching this video right now, but that's all right. It's well worth it. I mean, Votkola, like I was just saying with William, if you were to price Votkola right now, he'd be like 14 credits. So he's
I think he'd be more actually.
Yeah,
I think
maybe.
He and I think Williams would all be sort of that 18 to 20 bracket probably, because I rate all of those more than I rate Benoot, who's 22, isn't he, or 20? So yeah.
I just think Votkola, I mean, what have you got to lose? Like really, like the fact that he, as somebody who doesn't massively suit the Murderhui, like I foolishly believed, the fact that he came second at the Murderhui shows that he is in insane form.
And shows he should, I'm not saying he should leave Arkea, because I'm sure, you know, he's doing fine there. But when he goes to a World Tour team and can actually do altitude camps and wind tunnel training, he's going to win the Tour de France.
Yeah. Where would you send him, Dan? Just on a tangent.
Oh my god! I mean,
where would you like to see him? Like
that's put me
Alpecin?
on. Did you say Alpecin?
Alpecin could be kind of
I
cool.
mean, yeah, but
They
there's
don't have
no.
a Ardennes kind of guy.
They don't.
Really.
Well, they do. They have Laurence and Marissa and Hermans.
It's true, but they need Vauquelin to lead that.
Thing is, all of the top teams. I mean, Bora, because he's Vlasov just doesn't seem to care about one-day races.
Yeah, Vlasov's going to Astana apparently, so there'll be a void there.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah,
it depends whether he'll be drawn to a French team or not.
Thing is, because he's French, he's going to go to like Groupama, but then you've got Gaudu and Gregoire there already, and you've got, sorry, Martinez is leaving, and he's a different kind of rider anyway. Are there any other Cofidis aren't World Tour, are they? Or are they?
If they are, but they shouldn't be.
But Cofidis, thing is, that would be quite ironic because he'd be leaving to go to a team that used to have Laporte on it, and Laporte left that team and got immediately better at Visma. It kind of defeats the object of leaving in the first place. But yeah, any team, I just want him to go to a team that he can do an altitude training camp and win GC of a race, because for someone who clearly hasn't had his potential even remotely realised yet, he's a very good rider.
He's 22. Holy moly, so good.
Yeah.
I think Visma Lease Bike are rubbing their hands together. They're like, oh, what's this? A time trial climber type?
A French Jorgensen. What's this?
Can we put this guy in front of Jonas on a climb? You bet we can.
Oh god, if they did that, it'd be like Peak Sky. They will. It'd be Peak Sky in like 2016 to 2018. Just like, oh, that's a lovely wild poles you've got there. It'd be a shame if we put him on the front of a mountain train.
I know. Be awful. And then he'll get released when he's 30.
World champion Kwiatkowski. Oh no, don't mind if we do. We'll just stick him on the front of our mountain train.
That move to Sky just kind of killed me. When Kwiatkowski was world champ at Quickset, that was There's
a reason British fans fell out of love with Grand Tours in the 2010s.
Yeah, but anyway, we digress.
There's two credit guys that I would like to point out.
Oh, is it? Who?
Yeah, their form has been okay this season. More than okay. And they were supposed to come here for their leaders who are not here. And those guys are Matteo Sobrero and William Lucieff, both at 80 credits. They don't have a designated leader who is supposed to be here. I don't know about Sobrero. He's in good form. He did really well in San Remo, but his guys, I don't know what to expect from Hindley and Vlasov, but I think he should have his freedom here. And they're both they were both great at the beginning of the year. So at 8 credit, I think if you have it, so just take them.
I think Sobrero and Tiberi are probably the same bracket. I mean, they're the same price, which is really appealing. But both of them are very, and then even next to each other. Look at that. I think they're both really good picks, actually. I mean, cat killing aside, they're both very good picks.
He's a good Velogames pick.
Right? Yes, in terms of Velogames, very good.
I mean,
Sobrero was basically the one rider no commentator mentioned at all for Milan San Remo, and then he was the guy like at the front of that leading group before
he was
Van der Poel tried his little attack.
Yeah, I'll probably put Tiberi on my Giro team as long as George doesn't make him like 10 credits.
You said it now.
If he's 8, George, make him 8, please. Or 6.
He's gonna be 12. You watch. It'll be 12.
In the all-rounder category, please. That would be fantastic. Just my little wish. I know you're going to make Pogacar 34 credits or something, so just, throw us a bone. 6 credit riders. I mean...
Leknesund.
Yeah.
I am astounded he's 6 credits. I don't know why he's 6 credits. I feel like George just auto-allocated this one. Because, A, he's Norwegian, so he trains in -20 for fun. I mean, I have no expectation whatsoever. I don't think he even. I was trying to. I didn't get around to it, but I was going to look at his one-day record. I'm not sure a one-day record even exists for him. I don't think he does one-day races, and I'm pretty sure Tobias Harland Johannesson is their leader. But I think he's 6 credits. Like, he's a top 10, not top 10, maybe not top 10. He's a very good GT stage racer. Like,
Yeah.
you know, he's six credit. I mean, the other, to be fair, I was about to say he's along the likes of Paul Lepera, but I thought actually that's not a bad comparison because Paul Lepera is really good.
Yeah, literally.
But yeah, Jordi Lopez is the same price as Andreas Leknesson, and I've never even heard of Jordi Lopez. So
yeah, exactly. Like this is Andreas Leknesson, 8th place.
Giro pink jersey wearer last year.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, also Jordan
Jaja.
It's something like that.
We've got a French speaker here. We should ask him.
The T's silent. That's what I know. But he was. I said he was 15th at La Flèche Wallonne, and I said he's a good pick. So there you go.
Well, he's getting good now. I picked him for what did I pick him for? I picked him for Paris-Nice because I thought he would sprint.
Yes. Yeah,
and then he didn't do anything.
Well, no, he's getting good now. He's a one-day
Total Energies did that classic thing of taking 7 French puncheurs to a French race, and none of them did anything.
He's the new Mathieu Bergadeau.
Yeah, and Mathieu Bergadeau is still on that team.
Yeah, exactly.
They're all Mathieu. They've just got a whole load of Mathieu Bergadeaux.
He's gonna finish like 23rd. That's fine.
I feel like there's another name there that I feel like Irfan mentioned before, which was it Johannes Kolset? Did he not come like top 3 in the youth classification?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Was in Oman, yeah.
So, but I feel like there's I also feel like there's like 3 of the Kolset brothers, so I don't know which one's which. Paul Lepera is an interesting one as well, because obviously they got Benoit Cosnefroy, but Lepera was very clear before Flèche that he was going to get his own chance, and there seems to be a lot of teams in these one-day races where there's not just one leader. Like they can, if they feel good, they'll go and follow. So he's another one. He's a bit like Vauquelin, where he's meant to be this punchy sprinter, but he was up there at Amstel. So
I think Lepera's he's pretty low risk, like you say. The Cathalons have so many leaders where he could very well just finish 50th and do nothing, but he could be a top 20, and it's probably worthwhile putting that risk in and just going for it. Other 6 credit riders, I mean, there might be some which I'm missing who are really good, who people are screaming at.
I give you a massive punt that you just scrolled past. Mario for Cofidis. He was 6th at Cadel Ovens road race, which I know is no indication of form.
How long ago was that?
About 4 months ago. But he's another one of these Mathieu Bergadeau 2.0s.
Oh no!
Like, there's so many of them. Like when Forn Ardèche and Forn Drom come around, you want to pick about 20 riders. Admittedly, there isn't a Velogames fantasy game for those, but in other ones, because there's so many of these French puncheurs that are really good, and he's one of them.
Yeah, that's a Rupert pick right there.
That's all right.
And about 2 people watching this video.
I'm picking him for this and the other one just to see what happens.
Really? Do it.
No.
I mean,
I'm not that stupid.
Remy Rojas has actually been in good form this year, but there's so many people ahead of him in Groupama FDJ where he probably won't, but he could be top 30. Honestly, just a small climber.
I feel like I've seen him recently in a race.
He was up there.
Was it?
He was up there in the Flèche.
Was it Flèche? Okay. Yeah, he was like in that anticipating group, I think. Yeah. Before Soren Krauw went. I think.
Honestly, he could be. I think Remy Rojas would be the 6th credit rider that is like 0.8% selected, but might finish top 15. Like he's a Hail Mary, is what he is, but he could be pretty good because
he's one of those experienced riders like Conrad that will just turn up in the top 20.
Yeah, it's like he's like Madouas. It's not like the best Madouas we're seeing. Gregoire. We don't know how he's going to react as like the
distance.
Yeah, over the distance. And maybe Remy Rojas falls into that small bit of the Venn diagram, just a tiny bit where he does well. So if you're looking for a 6 credit differential, needing to go up the rankings, there you go, Remy Rojas. And we're on to the 4s. And I think you're really looking here at just assist points, in all honesty, unless, De Preto. We'll keep on saying De Preto, like, all year. 4 credits, De Preto, put him on. he'll finish third in Trevally Valentine later on in the year or something.
Assist point Matthews podium.
Yeah, he's an assist point Matthews on the podium.
Oh, Simon, yes.
And,
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
And then I don't know. You got if you think that Bahrain are going to finish on the podium with whoever of their 5 million leaders, go with one of the Bahrain guys, either Rivich.
That guy, I picked him before he goes in the breakaway.
Right? Yeah, literally Rivich.
The thing is, there's so many fours, and you go, oh, you just need to pick one of them that goes in the breakaway, and almost none of them do.
Yeah,
like they all have 6 or an 8 or something. Thing is, I haven't heard of most of these guys as well. Archie Ryan, there you go.
Yeah,
pick him. Because there's only one massive name, Pogacar, we don't actually need. I mean, Irfan might because he's picking Van der Poel, but yeah, you know, I don't think fours and I don't think I've got anything cheaper than 10 in my team.
No, you can make a team where you don't need to even pick like 6s.
Yeah,
like you 8 can be the minimum that you go. So like a 4 isn't really necessary, but yeah.
I just thought Archie Ryan is another one where he might just be there for the experience. Because he definitely hasn't done a race this long before.
Yeah.
Outside of maybe Amstel, if he did Amstel.
Yeah. I don't know why, but Danny Van der Took, I don't know why I just got him as like a breakaway guy, like climbing breakaway guy. But that's so tenuous. Like you may as well go to Depretto and just go for the assists, in all honesty. Or Archie Ryan and bank on him doing a worldie and doing really good.
Carapaz podium assist points.
Yeah. Something like that. If you need it. But well, team reveal. I mean, it's exactly the same as it was on the video I made earlier, but Pogacar, Skelmos, Boitaga, Van Hills, Stephen Williams, and Vauquelin is my team at the moment. Going with my reasoning. Pogacar's Pogacar, so there you go. That's that. Skelmos, I don't think his results on paper for the last 2 races are reflective of how good he actually is. And I think that he's really good. So, and I picked him for 2 races, and I feel like I've been shortchanged. So I may as well put him on a 3rd time and just roll the dice once more. And then Boitaga, Van Hills, Williams, and Vauquelin all look good at La Flèche Wallonne, and usually, at least like somebody who does good in La Flèche Wallonne does good in Liège. That's what history seems to dictate. So I'm just gonna go with that. It means I'll get to stay away from the 6s and 4s. So hopefully there's going to be no complete no scorers in the team, and everyone's going to get a little bit of something. And yeah, I don't really know who's going to be finishing where and in my make believe scenario, but I might go with. Thing is, I don't want to take Vauquelin off, but I could go with not Skelmoser and go with the make believe Matthews scenario, and then put a 6 on, which would probably be him. But I don't really like that. I'd probably go with Skelmoser and Vauquelin.
You're saying it doesn't. You're not going to. Not to be mean, but none of us are going to win overall. So you can just have fun with it and see what you're going to do.
So
pick a sprint team if you think that's going to happen. If it's just going to be sprinters from 2nd to 5th, because Pogacar's gone and no one else cares.
Yeah.
See what happens.
Yeah. So that's my team. Dan. Who's on yours?
Well, mine's the same as yours, except instead of Betrago and Van Hills, I've got Pidcock and Leknesund. Although I prefer yours now, I'm looking at it.
Right.
Simply because I'm feeling vibes from Leknesund. So I just feel like why not? And Pidcock because I feel like outside of Pogacar, he's the most likely to podium. But yeah, for some reason with Van Hills, because he started off as one of these early season merchants, to put a weird spin on it, because he did really well. Didn't he win Saudi Tour last year or the year before? So I don't think we've seen him over 250 kilometers. I might be wrong. I'm not sure he has the energy for that.
Yeah, that's what you mean.
Betrago is a known quantity, so that's fine. I love Stephen Williams. I'd like him to win this as well.
Yeah.
And Vauquelin is just so cheap and so good. He's someone who's he's gonna have the Healy bias next year, and he's going to be 20 credits.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love that team. I might well copy that. because I think honestly
Maybe
think that's the
three.
best team. I don't see any weaknesses in that team at all.
Yeah,
that you've
that's
got.
the thing. Like it's like La Flèche Wallonne, and I looked at my team and I thought that is an absolute banger of a team.
I think
Believe
they're all
what
top
they-
5 contenders, if not podium contenders. The only one missing, obviously, is Van der Poel. But until we see the race happen, we don't know if that's going to be worth it or not.
Yeah. You got me thinking about Van Hills. Like if I was to not go with him,
Who else?
I would probably
60?
go with like Gregoire. I could bank on a more sprinting scenario and go with Gregoire and Matthews. Or Bennett, or I know Bennett's not a sprinter, but you know I could swap him out for a little bit of an orientation. You know that's all right because you get like those kind of more sprinter types. Group 2 might contain Boitargo, Williams, and Vauquelin. Group 3 contains Matthews and Gregoire. You kind of spreading it out a bit.
Looking at history, it's we might as much as I hate it, might be right with the whole Group 2 sprint thing because isn't it? I can't remember the last time there was a bunch finish. I can remember the last time there was a bunch finish because it was was it Alaphilippe that pipped Roglic, or the other way, Roglic that pipped Alaphilippe?
Yeah.
Which was 2022, I think, because then Pogacar won the sprint in 2021.
Yeah.
So it's been Remco for like 2 or 3 years in a row.
Yeah, I think I'm putting too much thought into Pogacar just goes away. Maybe I'm already considering that to be too much of a done deal. Like you say, Pogacar was in that group with Alaphilippe and Roglic and Valverde and Woods or something. It's like you didn't get rid of them there.
Well, no, but also I don't. That you got to remember, UAE have been developing UAE have basically been adding a sort of Team Sky A level person to their squad every year or so, and so I could check it now, but their team in 2021 probably wasn't that good. It was probably like Jan Palanche and someone.
Yeah, I think Pogacar knows he has to go hard to get rid of Van der Poel because I think he's the biggest threat.
Well, that's the biggest threat is him, yeah.
So he knows he has to go hard, and by de facto, he's probably going to drop everybody else.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, and I hope that whoever would be capable of going with him is on my team, basically. Irfan, who's on your team at the moment? I know you're not too invested in the men's at the moment. But
Pogacar and Van der Poel.
Yeah.
And you will be quite surprised with the team that I managed to make. So Pogacar, Van der Poel, and Vauquelin are in. And of course, I have to get a 4 credit rider, so I'm getting Archie Ryan. And I'm left with 24 credit. And I have 2 very nice combinations, actually. Stephen Williams and Buitrago, or Sobero and Bangles.
I'd go Boitrago and Williams.
Yeah, I think so.
I think that's safer.
Says that Pogacar, Van der Poel, Vauquelin, Williams, Buitrago. So I have 4 of your riders, and Archie Ryan and Van der Poel. So I think it's okay.
I'm always like persuading myself to try to put Matthews in there because I've just got this awful feeling he's going to finish second. I don't know why, because we know what happened. Like second group, maybe it contains Pidcock, Skelmos, Boitrago, blah blah blah. They don't work well together. Simon Yates is absolutely caning it behind, and Matthews just wins the sprint for second, just rather unceremoniously, but efficient. You know, and Gregoire finishes 4th in the sprint because he's fairly fast as well. And I don't know, it seems like I want to go something like I want to go with Skelmoser and Van Hills because that's more exciting. But is it like the sprinting from behind group and like, you know, the group 2 dynamics, people being too cagey and trying to be like, oh, I need to secure this podium place, but ends up messing it up. I mean,
someone who I forgot about. I'm just tinkering around, and I managed to make a team I like with Pogacar and Van der Poel in it. And I was looking at the 10s, and we missed Kevin Vermaker, who is a staple of sort of world championships. And I say top 20s, top 10s. He loves a long distance race. The tinkered just to give a balanced view of having taking the 2 big hitters, because this scenario kind of looks like Pogacar solo, then sprint behind to it. But Pogacar, Van der Poel, Stevie Williams, Laurent, Vauquelin, and Sobrero.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, I hadn't thought about putting both of them on, Pogacar and Van der Poel. But it's easily possible. It is possible. I'm just not sure your other riders are going to be enough.
Yeah, I think I'm just manifesting that Van der Poel's going to get dropped, but
I
feel
think
like
it's the only.
Very surprised.
To quote some, I'm not even sure what program it is, but it's only logical. Probably Star Trek or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Anyway.
Yeah, so I'm between Matthews and Gregoire and Skelmoser and Van Hills. It's basically, do you go attacking options or sprinting? But whatever. I mean, if anybody in the comment section wants to help me out, go for it. And also, yeah, if you are still hanging around, be sure to put your team in the comment section. Any deliberations that you're having with your teams, we will. I mean, Romandy starts next week, so you might see us back in a few days doing another preview for that. That should be. I mean, it's been a while since we've done a stage race one, and that'll be the last one before the Giro, so that'll be pretty exciting. With no big hitter at Romandy, I think it'll be quite some really interesting teams going into that. So be sure to subscribe and come back, and I'm sure you'll see Dan and Irfan back again in a few days' time. But yeah, all that is left to say is to stay safe out there, and we will see you probably at the Tour of Romandy.